On New Year's Eve, I invited my son, daughter-in-law, and grandson over to celebrate together. We were laughing around the dinner table when my son's phone rang a work call, he said, and disappeared into the basement. My 9-year-old grandson Jackson excused himself to use the bathroom at the same time. When he came back, his face was white as paper hands, trembling. He grabbed my arm, pulled me aside, and whispered, "Grandpa, we need to leave right now. I heard Dad talking about you." What Jackson told me next made my blood run cold. By 10:30 that night, I was locked in my bathroom dialing 911 while my son tried to break down the door. Before I tell you what Jackson heard that night, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching this from. I need to know my story is reaching people. I was setting the table when the memory hit me. Margaret, my wife, 3 New Year's Eves ago, laughing as she burned the rolls. Calvin, she'd said, "After 42 years, you'd think I'd master the oven." I'd kissed her forehead and told her the rolls were perfect. They weren't, but she was. Tonight the rolls were store-bought. The table felt too large. And for the first time in 43 years, I was hosting New Year's Eve alone. Not entirely alone. My son Adrian was coming with his family. That should have comforted me. It didn't. The doorbell rang at 5:15. I opened it to find Adrian stamping snow from his boots, Kristen, my daughter-in-law, behind him with her practiced smile, and Jackson, my 9-year-old grandson, clutching a backpack like a shield. "Dad." Adrian pulled me into a brief hug. I caught the scent of expensive cologne, something new. When he pulled back, I noticed the watch on his wrist. Rolex. Rose gold. The kind that cost more than I made in 6 months of teaching high school literature. Last month he'd told me money was tight. "Real estate market's brutal right now, Dad. We're barely keeping our heads above water." I'd offered to help. He'd refused. The watch said otherwise. "Let me take your coats," I said. Kristen handed me hers cashmere, and I spotted her handbag on the entry table. "Prada, $3,000 minimum." "Dinner smells amazing," Kristen said too brightly. She had that quality cheerfulness that felt rehearsed. "What are we having?" "Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, Margaret's green beans." "Oh," her smile flickered. "Lovely." We moved to the dining room. I'd set 4 places at the oak table my father built solid scarred with decades of family meals. Adrian pulled out Kristen's chair, then his own, his eyes already drifting to his phone. Jackson sat beside me silent. I ruffled his hair. "How's school, buddy?" "Fine." He didn't look up. I'd taught for 38 years. I knew the difference between fine and watching something he didn't understand. Jackson was watching his father. Adrian's phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time his jaw tightened. He'd check the screen, his knuckles going white, then set it down without responding. "Everything okay at work?" I asked, passing the chicken. "Fine." The same hollow word Jackson had used. Kristen filled the silence with chatter sales at Nordstrom Neighbors, renovating Jackson's school play. I nodded at the right moments, but I was watching Adrian. My son had always been easy to read. As a boy, he'd worn his emotions openly. Somewhere between Little League and real estate development, he'd learned to hide them. But a father knows. Tonight I saw fear. The phone buzzed again. Adrian's fork clattered. "Sorry?" he muttered. "Work, it's been—" He didn't finish. The phone was already at his ear, his chair scraping back. "I need to take this." Kristen's smile never wavered. "Of course, honey." Adrian glanced at the screen, and something shifted in his expression. "Won't be long," he said, then headed toward the basement. The door clicked shut. His footsteps echoed down the stairs, growing fainter until silence. Kristen kept talking sales bargains, but I wasn't listening. I was watching Jackson. He'd set down his fork. His young face was troubled eyes fixed on the empty doorway where his father had disappeared. It was the same expression he'd worn 3 years ago at Margaret's funeral. Too young to understand death, but old enough to know something was terribly wrong. Before I could ask if he was all right, Jackson pushed back his chair and stood. "I need to use the bathroom," he mumbled, already moving. "Honey, use the one up," Kristen started, but he was gone. "I need to use the bathroom," Jackson mumbled, already moving. "Honey, use the one up," Kristen started, but he was gone. I went back to clearing plates, half listening to Kristen's chatter about sales. But something nagged at me. Jackson hadn't gone upstairs. I'd heard his footsteps pad down the hallway toward the basement. My stomach tightened. I set down the dishes and moved toward the basement door. Before I reached it, the door swung open and Jackson stumbled through. His face was white as paper. I caught him as he nearly tripped. He was shaking. "What's wrong?" I pulled him toward the kitchen, away from Kristen's oblivious chattering. Jackson's hands gripped my sleeve. "Grandpa, I heard Daddy talking." Honey, you shouldn't eavesdrop. He cut me off terrified. He was talking about you. My blood went cold. What do you mean? He said dying and tonight and your name. I crouched down, gripping his shoulders. Are you sure? He said furnace and carbon something. And numbers. Big numbers. 750,000. The floor tilted beneath me. Grandpa, he said by morning. What does that mean? Carbon monoxide, the CO detector missing from my bedroom. Furnace. $750,000 my life insurance. Adrian was the beneficiary. No. This was insane. Jackson had misunderstood. Some conversation about a client's property insurance claims. My son couldn't. But my hands were shaking. Did he see you? Jackson shook his head. I hid behind the water heater, but Grandpa's voice sounded weird, not like Daddy. Footsteps on the basement stairs, Adrian coming back. I squeezed Jackson's shoulder. Not a word to anyone. Promise me. Jackson nodded, eyes huge with fear. The kitchen door swung open. Everything okay? Adrian asked. His tone was casual. His eyes weren't. They moved between Jackson and me, sharp assessing. I felt my grandson's hand trembling in mine. Fine, I said, steadier than I felt. Jackson was just helping me with dishes. Jackson nodded, but his fingers shook as he picked up a dish towel. Adrian studied us. Could he hear my heart hammering? Did he know that we knew? Kristen's voice called from the living room. Adrian, the Hendersons are here. He turned away, but not before I caught something in his expression. Calculation. A chess player deciding whether to sacrifice a piece. The doorbell chimed. The Hendersons' neighbors for 15 years arriving with a casserole and smiles. Behind them would come the Millers, the Kowalskis' familiar faces, who'd filled our home every holiday since Margaret and I moved to Bloomington. They'd drink champagne, laugh, count down to midnight. None of them would know. I stood in my kitchen holding my grandson's shaking hand, and the truth crystallized. My son, my only child, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to tie his shoes, to distinguish right from wrong, was planning to kill me tonight. For the next 30 minutes, I played the gracious host on autopilot, shook hands, accepted casseroles, laughed at jokes I didn't hear. The Hendersons, the Millers, the Kowalskis' neighbors for 20 years filled my house with warmth and chatter. But all I could hear was Jackson's voice, furnace carbon monoxide tonight. It had to be a misunderstanding. Some conversation about a client's property that Jackson had misconstrued. My son couldn't. But I needed to know. Around 7 o'clock, I watched Adrian greet the Patels at the front door, his back to me. Now or never. House feels cold, I announced. Going to check the furnace? Kristen protested. Oh, let Adrian do it later. I was already moving. I've been checking that furnace for 40 years. Won't take a minute. I descended the stairs, each step feeling like a descent into nightmare. The basement was cold quiet. I approached the furnace, old but well-maintained. I'd kept it running since 1998. I crouched down, examining the exhaust vent. My fingers traced its path. It should vent outside through the wall. Instead, it had been redirected. Someone had disconnected the external pipe and pointed it upward toward the floor vent, leading directly to my bedroom. The work was recent. I could see fresh scratches on the pipe connections. My throat tightened. Near the furnace sat a trash bin. Inside my CO detector. I pulled it out, popped open the battery compartment. The battery was fine. 9 volts fully charged. Someone had removed it deliberately. The pieces fell into place with terrible clarity. When the furnace ran tonight, carbon monoxide would pour into my bedroom instead of outside. I'd go to sleep and never wake up. Accidental CO poisoning. Tragic. Common in old houses with aging systems. And Adrian would collect $750,000. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. I took photos, the redirected vent, from 3 angles, the CO detector in the trash, the furnace serial number. My teacher's instinct document everything. Above me, floorboards creaked. Footsteps slow, deliberate, crossing the kitchen floor, growing louder, closer. Someone was walking toward the basement door. Dead Adrian's voice from the top of the stairs. I shoved my phone into my pocket, the evidence burning against my chest. Just checking the filter. I called up, forcing normalcy into my voice. Every syllable felt like lifting a boulder. Everything's fine. Be right up. A pause. Long enough that I imagined him coming down, finding me with the photos, realizing, "Don't stay down there too long," he said finally, quieter. "It's getting cold." His footsteps retreated. I stood alone in the basement, staring at the furnace that should have killed me tonight, and felt something cold and hard crystallize in my chest. Not fear anymore. Something else. Something closer to rage. My son had done this. Twisted metal and redirected pipes with his own hands. planned my death while sitting across from me at dinner. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step measured. Upstairs, I could hear music, laughter, celebration. Down here in the basement, I'd just found proof that my only child wanted me dead. By 8 o'clock, I couldn't maintain the facade any longer. "Excuse me," I told the Millers mid-conversation. "Headache. Need to lie down." Concerned murmurs followed me upstairs. I locked my bedroom door and heard the bolt click like a gunshot. Behind me, party sounds, muffled laughter, normalcy. Before me, my phone glowing with photos I wished didn't exist. I sat on the edge of the bed Margaret and I had shared for 40 years, and stared at the evidence that my son was planning to murder me tonight. I scrolled through the photos, again hoping I'd misread them. The redirected vent was clear, unmistakable, intentional. I saw Adrian at 8 years old in his Little League uniform. "I love you, Dad," he'd said after I'd driven him to practice every day for a month. When had that boy become this? I remembered Margaret 2 months before the cancer took her. She'd squeezed my hand. "Watch Adrian. He always takes the easy way, shortcuts." I'd dismissed it. "He's just ambitious, Maggie." "No," she'd said. "He's desperate, and desperate people do desperate things." I hadn't understood then. I did now. The signs I'd ignored rushed back. Last year, Adrian asking about my life insurance, just curious. 6 months ago, suggesting I update my will for estate planning. 3 months ago, insisting I move in with him so we can help each other. I'd thought he was being thoughtful. He was being strategic. My options raced through my mind. Confront him directly? No. He was desperate, dangerous. If cornered, what would he do? Just leave the house and go check into a hotel on New Year's Eve without explanation. More importantly, Jackson's room was also on the 2nd floor. Carbon monoxide rises. If the furnace ran, Jackson would die too. Did Adrian think of that? Did he care? Call police now. Yes, but timing mattered. If Adrian realized, I knew he might run, or worse. I needed to wait until late, close to when he'd expect me to go to bed. Find a room with a lock, call 911, keep Jackson safe. I checked my phone battery, 47%. Good enough. I uploaded the photos to cloud storage. Backup if something happened to my phone. Outside my door, footsteps in the hallway. A soft knock. Adrian's voice, concerned. "Dad, you've been up here a while. Everything okay?" I stood, pocketed my phone, and opened the door. Adrian filled the doorframe, backlit by hallway light. In his hand, a wine glass ruby red in the dim light. "Thought you might want this," he said, stepping closer. His smile was warm, familiar, the smile I'd seen my entire life. "Big night. This'll help you relax." He extended the glass toward me. The wine caught the light, almost black. "Maybe even help you sleep better," he added. The word sleep hung between us like a blade. I looked at my son's face, still handsome, still recognizable, and tried to find the monster underneath. But all I saw was the boy I'd raised, the man I'd loved, which somehow made it worse. I took the wine glass from my son's hand, felt its weight, felt his eyes watching. "Thanks," I said. "That's thoughtful." "Drink up, Dad." He didn't move, waiting. I raised the glass to my lips, let the wine touch my tongue without swallowing, felt the bitter tannins, then lowered it. "Perfect. I'll finish it downstairs." Adrian's shoulders relaxed. "Good. Come down when you're ready. Party's getting lively." The moment he left, I went to the bathroom and poured the wine into the sink. Watched it spiral down the drain, dark as blood. I forced myself back downstairs, empty wine glass in hand. The party had grown maybe 20 people now. Champagne-flowing music, playing countdown decorations going up. I moved through it like a ghost, shaking hands, nodding at conversations I didn't hear. Adrian kept appearing at my elbow. "Dad, you look exhausted." "Why don't you turn in early?" "Long day tomorrow." Each suggestion sounded caring. Each one was a countdown to my death. I deflected. "Want to see Midnight with Jackson?" "Not tired yet. Having too much fun." Around 9:30, I noticed Adrian and Kristen in the kitchen. They didn't see me watching from the doorway. Kristen shook her head, emphatic. Adrian gripped her wrist, leaned close, whispered. Her face went pale. He released her. She nodded. I stepped back before they saw me. Around 10 o'clock, I found Jackson on the couch, pretending to play on his tablet. I sat beside him, kept my voice casual. "Hey, buddy, do Grandpa a favor?" He looked up. "What?" "Sleep on the couch tonight. Watch movies. Tell Mom you want to stay up." "But—" I gripped his shoulder. "Jackson, this is important. If anything strange happens, anything at all, you run next door to the Johnsons. You call 911. You tell them exactly what you heard Daddy say. Understand?" His eyes filled with tears. "Grandpa, I'm scared." My throat tightened. Me too, buddy. But we're going to be okay, I promise. What are we talking about? Adrian's voice behind us. I turned. Just grandpa-grandson stuff, you know. Adrian's eyes narrowed, flicked between us. Everything all right? Perfect, I lied. He didn't look convinced. 10:15. Last guest started putting on coats. 10:25. Adrian announced loudly. Dad should really get some rest before midnight. Guest chorused agreement. Yes, Calvin, you look worn out. The net tightening. Clock 10:30. I excused myself to the bathroom, the small one off the kitchen with a working lock. I closed the door behind me and turned the lock. It clicked solid secure. Outside Adrian's voice. Dad, you okay in there? You've been looking pale all night. I pulled out my phone. The screen glowed 10:31, 42% battery. 911, 3 numbers. End of my family, end of everything. My finger hovered over the call button. A louder knock. Dad, answer me. The doorknob rattled once, twice, testing the lock. He knew. Somehow he knew. I pressed call. 1 ring. 911, what's your emergency? I kept my voice low, barely above a whisper. My name is Calvin Palmer. I'm at 2847 East Countryside Lane, Bloomington, Indiana. My son and daughter-in-law are trying to kill me tonight. A brief pause. Professional calm. Sir, can you tell me what's happening? They've sabotaged our furnace to produce carbon monoxide poisoning. My grandson is in the house, Jackson Palmer, 9 years old. I have photographic evidence of the tampering. Are you in immediate danger right now? Yes. I'm locked in the upstairs bathroom. They think I'm going to sleep in my bedroom tonight. The carbon monoxide will kill me by morning. Mr. Palmer, I'm dispatching officers to your location immediately. Stay on the line with me. Where is your grandson right now? Downstairs. Living room. He's away from my bedroom. That's the target area. The operator's keyboard clicked in the background. Units are approximately 4 minutes out. Can you... A bang on the door. I nearly dropped the phone. Dad. Adrian's voice louder now. Dad, you've been in there 15 minutes? I covered the phone's microphone. I told you I'm not feeling well. Let me in. I can help. I don't need help. The operator, Mr. Palmer, do not open that door. I won't. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. Who are you talking to? Adrian's voice changed, sharp, suspicious. Kristen somewhere beyond the door. Adrian, is he on the phone? Dad pounding harder now. Who are you talking to? Open this door. Mr. Palmer, the operator said firmly. Officers are 2 minutes away. I can hear them on dispatch. Do not engage. Stay locked. Inside. I'm trying... The doorframe rattled. Adrian was throwing his weight against it. Kristen's voice rose to a shriek. He's calling the police. Adrian, he's... Jackson, Adrian shouted. Jackson, get your shoes on. We're leaving now. No, I lunged for the door, stopping myself. Jackson, stay there. Grandpa Jackson's voice small and terrified from somewhere downstairs. Officers are 90 seconds away, Mr. Palmer. The operator's voice cut through my panic. 90 seconds. Stay where you are. A massive crash. The door buckled inward, but the lock held. They're trying to break down the door, I told the operator. Sir, do not open it. Officers are on your street now. I can see them on GPS. 30 seconds. Another crash. Wood splintered. The door wouldn't hold much longer. Then sirens. Close. Growing louder. Everything stopped. Oh, God, Kristen whispered. Adrian! Mr. Palmer. The operator said officers are at your front door. In approximately 15 seconds, they will announce themselves. When you hear them identify as police, you may unlock the bathroom door. Not before. Okay. Adrian, we have to the back door. Kristen's voice faded, footsteps running. Then Bloomington police opened the door, shouting. Heavy footsteps. A crash, the front door breaching. Police hands where I can see them. Mr. Palmer, you can open the door now. The operator said gently. You're safe. I unlocked the door with shaking hands. A female officer stood in the hallway, hand on her weapon. Calvin Palmer. Yes. Are you injured? No. My grandson, Jackson. He's safe, sir. He's with Officer Reynolds downstairs. She glanced past me at the splintered doorframe, then keyed her radio. Detective Foster's subject is secure and unharmed. The door swung open. I stepped into the hallway, phone still pressed to my ear, the operator's voice now a distant hum. Adrian stood 10 feet away, face flushed, crimson eyes, bloodshot. Between us, nothing. No furniture, no obstacles. Just 15 feet of hallway and 40 years of lies. He was breathing hard, fists clenched at his sides. Behind him, near the back door, Kristen had one hand on Jackson's shoulder, firm but not rough. My grandson's face was streaked with tears. His horrified eyes locked on me. Let Jackson go, I said. My voice sounded strange, flat, hollow. This is between you and me. You called them? Adrian's chest heaved. You actually called the police on your own son. I raised the phone so he could see it. Let the boy go. A siren wailed in the distance, growing louder. Adrian heard it too. His face went pale, then flushed red again. You don't understand what you've done. His voice cracked. They're coming to arrest me. U.S., your own family. You sabotaged the furnace, I said. You were going to kill me tonight for the insurance money. Kristen's voice rose sharp and desperate. We weren't actually going to go through with it. It was just a backup plan. We would have changed our minds. Adrian spun toward her. Shut up, Kristen. He turned back to me, desperation flooding his face. Dad, you don't understand. I had no choice. $645,000 in debt. Loan sharks. Real ones, not banks. They threatened to kill me, kill Kristen, hurt Jackson. I was drowning. So you decided to drown me instead. His face twisted. You're 65 years old. You've lived your life. Mom's gone. What do you have left? That money was just sitting there while I... His voice trailed off, then came back weaker. You were going to die anyway. Eventually. Our family has a history of heart disease. We just needed the money sooner. You didn't need it, I said quietly. You wanted it. And you were willing to murder your father to get it. Something collapsed in Adrian's expression. Grief, remorse. Or just the realization that it was over. Dad, please. His voice broke. You can tell them it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. Say I was talking about a client's property. Say Jackson misheard. Say, family is supposed to protect each other, Adrian, not kill each other. Blue and red lights flashed through the front window. Heavy boots thundered across the porch. Boom, boom, boom. Police opened the door. Adrian looked at the door, at me, at Jackson. His entire body sagged in defeat. For one terrible second, I didn't know what he would do. His hand was still near Jackson's shoulder. His eyes were wild like a cornered animal. Then something inside him broke. I watched it happen, saw the fight drain out, and his shoulders slumped. Go to Grandpa Jackson, he whispered. My grandson ran to me. I caught him, pulled him tight against my chest, felt his small body trembling. Over his head, I watched armed officers burst through the front door, weapons drawn, voices overlapping in commands I couldn't quite hear. Hands where we can see them. Get on the floor. Now. I pressed Jackson's face into my shoulder so he wouldn't see them. Force his father to the ground. Wouldn't see the handcuffs snap around his mother's wrists. Wouldn't see the exact moment our family shattered. But I couldn't look away. I watched my son's face get pressed into the hallway floor, watched his lips move, saying something, maybe sorry or why, or maybe nothing at all, and felt 40 years of fatherhood crack apart like breaking ice. Behind me, the female officer spoke into her radio. Subjects in custody, requesting Detective Foster to the scene. Adrian's eyes found mine one last time. They were empty. I turned away, held Jackson tighter, and tried to remember how to breathe. The next hour passed in a blur of badge numbers and Miranda rights. My living room, where we'd just been celebrating, had become a crime scene. Yellow tape blocked the basement door. Evidence markers. A photographer documenting the furnace, the redirected exhaust vent, the disabled CO detector. I sat on my own couch like a guest in my own home, Jackson pressed against my side, both of us trembling. A victim advocate, a kind woman named Patricia, brought us water, but neither of us drank. A female detective approached her badge, glinting under the lights. Mr. Palmer, I'm Detective Lynn Foster. She crouched to my eye level. Early 40s, tired eyes, professional but not cold. Are you or your grandson physically injured in any way? No, I said. Not physically. I need you to show me what you found. Can you do that? I nodded. Patricia stayed with Jackson, while I led Detective Foster down to the basement. The stairs felt longer than before, each step heavier. I pointed to the furnace, the redirected vent. A forensic technician was already photographing everything, taking measurements. The technician glanced at Foster. Exhaust pipe was deliberately redirected. CO detector disabled batteries still good. This wasn't an accident. Foster nodded, making notes. Back upstairs, I showed her the photos on my phone. She scrolled through them slowly, her jaw tightening. When did you take these? Around 7:30 tonight. And you didn't confront your son? I was afraid of what he might do. I waited until I could call safely. She looked up from the phone. Mr. Palmer, this is attempted murder. Premeditated. We'll be charging both your son and daughter-in-law. Thomas Reinhardt arrived then, my lawyer. Mrs. Henderson from next door had called him. Calvin, don't say anything more tonight, Thomas said quietly. Not without me present. Foster understood. Of course. We'll need a full statement tomorrow. 10 a.m. at the station. I nodded. Through the front window, I watched Adrian being loaded into a police cruiser, hands cuffed behind his back. He turned his head, looked back at the house. Our eyes met through the glass. His lips moved. I couldn't hear him, couldn't know what he was saying. Then an officer pressed his head down and he disappeared into the car. Kristen was in another vehicle, sitting rigid, staring straight ahead, face blank. Foster crouched beside Jackson. "You were very brave," she said gently. "You saved your grandfather's life." Jackson didn't respond, just gripped my hand tighter. Foster stood, turned back to me. "Mr. Palmer, I need to tell you something. Your bedroom and your grandson's room, they're both on the second floor, correct?" "Yes, why?" Her expression went grave. "Carbon monoxide is lighter than air. It rises. The concentration would have reached lethal levels throughout the entire second floor by morning." The words hit me like a physical blow. Jackson's room. I could barely form the words. They were going to kill both of you. I looked down at my grandson, and something inside me broke all over again. Adrian knew. He had to know, and he'd done it anyway. Detective Foster gathered her coat, and files moved toward the door. At the threshold, she paused. "Mr. Palmer," she said quietly, "did you ever suspect your son was capable of something like this?" I looked at the clock, 12:47 a.m., the first day of 2026. A new beginning I'd almost not lived to see. I looked at Jackson at the crime scene tape blocking the basement at the spot where police had forced my son to the ground. "No," I said. My voice sounded old, distant. "I was a teacher. I taught ethics and literature for 38 years. I taught him about tragedy, about hubris, about the difference between right and wrong." My throat closed, or at least I thought I had. Foster's expression softened. "You did what was right tonight. That took courage most people don't have." After she left, Thomas sat with us for another hour explaining what would come next. Arraignment, bail hearing trial. His words washed over me like static. At 2 a.m., Patricia helped us pack overnight bags. We couldn't stay in the house. It was still an active crime scene, and besides, I couldn't imagine sleeping here. Not tonight. Maybe not ever again. Mrs. Henderson took us in, put Jackson in her guest room, made up her couch for me. As I lay in the dark, I heard Jackson crying through the wall. Soft, muffled sobs he was trying to hide. I got up, went to him, held him while he wept for his father, for his mother, for everything that had shattered. "I'm sorry, Grandpa," he whispered. "I'm sorry I told you." "Don't." I pulled him closer. "Don't ever be sorry for telling the truth." Outside, somewhere in the distance, fireworks popped, people still celebrating a new year. Inside, in the dark, we mourned the end of everything we'd known. The trial lasted 3 weeks, and I attended every day, sitting in the back row of the courtroom, while prosecutors laid out what my son had done. They detailed gambling debts, failed real estate deals, and a life insurance policy with my name on it and him as beneficiary. Expert witnesses described carbon monoxide poisoning in clinical terms, calling it the silent killer. They explained that Jackson and I would have drifted into sleep and never known what was happening. Adrian's defense attorney argued desperation, not malice, claiming they never would have gone through with it. But the sabotaged furnace said otherwise. So did the 911 recording. And so did my testimony 3 hours on the stand, my son's eyes fixed on me. Afterward, Thomas squeezed my shoulder and said I did the right thing. It didn't feel right. It felt like carving out my own heart. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. I was in the courtroom when the foreman read the verdict. Adrian James Palmer was found guilty of attempted murder. Kristen was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and child endangerment. Sentencing came a week later. Adrian received 25 years. Kristen received 20. As they led him away, Adrian looked at me. No apology, no remorse, only anger. His lips formed words I didn't need to hear. "This is your fault." Maybe he was right. Maybe I failed him long before he tried to kill me. Jackson lives with me full time now. The court granted me custody. We built new routines, breakfast together, homework at the kitchen table, reading before bed. I read him the Chronicles of Narnia, especially the parts about courage. 2 weeks after the trial, Jackson asked why his parents wanted to hurt me. I told him people sometimes make terrible choices when scared and desperate. I told him none of it was his fault. He asked if I was sad. I said every day, but also grateful to be alive to be with him. Last Saturday, I visited Margaret's grave and told her I had protected our grandson. I left tulips her favorite and noticed crocuses pushing through the cold ground. On Sunday, Jackson and I planted a Japanese maple in the backyard, a symbol of new growth. He asked if it would grow big. I told him it would if we took care of it. Like us, he asked. I smiled and said yes. That night, after Jackson fell asleep on the couch, afraid to return to his old room, I sat on the porch, thinking about choices. I am 65 years old. I lost my son not to death, but to greed. I lost the family I believed I had, and decades of believing I raised a decent man. But I saved my grandson. I saved him from dying in his sleep and from growing up with parents who valued money over life. Some choices break your heart, but they are still right. I taught literature for 38 years about tragic heroes destroyed by flaws. I never imagined I would live inside those stories myself, but I did, and I would do it again. Integrity is not about comfort. It is about truth and showing the next generation through actions how to choose courage over fear, even when everything hurts deeply. The maple is budding now. Jackson waters it every morning. Sometimes I watch from the window and see not what we lost, but what we saved each other together, still standing alive. Looking back at my true story, I see a man who ignored the warning signs until it was almost too late. Don't be like me. Don't wait until your grandson is crying in terror, until the furnace has been sabotaged, until the police are breaking down your door, to realize that something is deeply wrong in your family. The greatest lesson I've learned, and this is what I want to share with all of you listening to grandpa stories like mine, is that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's enablement. It's the slow poison that allows evil to flourish in the name of family loyalty. God gave us discernment for a reason. He gave us the courage to protect the innocent, even when it costs us everything. When I was locked in that bathroom, phone trembling in my hand, I prayed. I asked God to guide me, to give me strength. And he answered not with comfort, but with clarity. Sometimes God's will isn't gentle. Sometimes it demands we sacrifice what we love most to save what matters more. This true story isn't just mine, it's a warning. Watch for the signs: sudden financial desperation, questions about insurance policies, relatives who suddenly want to help when they've never cared before. Trust your instincts. Trust your grandchildren when they come to you with fears. And most importantly, trust that God will give you strength when you need it most. I've heard many grandpa stories over the years, but I never imagined I'd become one of them. These true story moments aren't meant to entertain, they're meant to educate, to prepare you, to remind you that evil doesn't always look like a stranger in the dark. Sometimes it looks like your own son standing in your hallway justifying murder because he's desperate. I pray to God every night that you never face what I faced. But if you do, I pray you have the courage to choose what's right over what's easy. Now I need to hear from you. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? Have you seen warning signs you ignored? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might save someone's life. And if this moved you, please subscribe to this channel so more people can learn from these lessons. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening. God bless you all. Stay safe.